was rare here, but we, I guess, brought the snow, so I'm sorry about that. Had quite a bit in DC, or the swamp, as I like to call it. But as you heard, prior to joining the RNC, where I'm the national spokesperson, I was a commentator at the Fake News Network, otherwise known as CNN. So, yeah, there is fake news over there. I was always the lone Trump supporter on the 8-on-1 panels, and I say 8-on-1 because the host is included among the liberal commentators. There's simply no doubt about that. When you consider the folks who are there, like Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon, very nice people, but very wrong in politics, I will say that. But maybe you guys were good conservatives not watching CNN. I hope most of you watch Fox News instead. That's great. I'm more often on Fox these days, and I like keeping it that way. Yes, but anyway, being an 8-on-1 person at CNN is probably a lot like being a conservative out here in Oregon. I know it's not easy. I know it's tough. I know you're constantly having to defend your point of view, but know this, it makes you stronger. It makes you tougher. You know, I've spent the last decade of my life in very liberal institutions. You heard them named off: Harvard Law School, Oxford University, Georgetown, very liberal places, but it made me stronger. The fire made me tough. It made me have to defend my arguments. So I could go out on CNN and tell my friends, my neighbors, their fellow commentators why I'm a conservative. I think it makes you stronger being here as opposed to a red state where people just pat you on the back when they see your MAGA hat. Probably not the same here, as I imagine, with Antifa. I hear they're quite robust, so I'm sorry about that. It must be tough to deal with. But you know, prior to going to these Ivy League schools in Oxford, I grew up in a very small town called Plant City, Florida. It's the world's strawberry capital. It's in Tampa, Florida, right outside of Tampa, Florida, I should say. And I was raised by a dad who built a roofing company from the ground up. His mom worked 2 jobs, was a single mom because his father died when he was very young. And my mom was a teacher turned stay-at-home mom, and I really learned the values of faith, the values that have animated my conservative beliefs, and that kind of, you know, helped me stay grounded as I went to these very liberal institutions. So I'm really just a small town girl, and I think that has stayed with me, certainly embedded me and emboldened me in my conservatism. But you know, I will tell you, it does seem like just yesterday that I was on CNN and I got to watch those agonizing faces when President Trump became President Trump on a day I like to relive. November 8th, 2016, it was a very beautiful day, and I remember that was a great day. And Jeffrey Lord, yes, someone said Jeffrey Lord. I'd be remiss if I did not mention Jeffrey Lord. He was fantastic. Occasionally I got a Trump ally, and that was Jeff Lord. He's wonderful. But I remember one of my final exchanges in the presidential debate, it was in Las Vegas, Nevada, was with David Axelrod. And I remember saying to him, hey, I listen to Rush Limbaugh, David, and I said this on the airwaves. I love Rush. I'm a Rush baby. Grew up listening to Rush in my dad's truck. Love Rush. So I said, you know, Rush Limbaugh made a good point. And of course, you know, you get a snarky laugh immediately when you say that on a CNN panel. But I said, Rush made the point, it doesn't matter what television station you turn on, everyone is operating under the premise that Donald Trump is about to lose the election. And I said, I just don't believe that premise. David Axelrod, who for those of you who don't know was Obama's campaign manager, said to me, I've been involved in campaigns for a long time. No one in modern history has recovered from a deficit like this. And I said, but David, no one in modern history has won a primary spending only half of what his 3 opponents did. And David said, Kayleigh, God bless you. I appreciate your undying commitment. I'm just telling you what the facts are. Well, the fact is, less than a month later, Donald Trump would go on to be president of the United States, and David And I thought I'd give you guys a little taste of what it was like on those CNN panels. I know you guys probably exhibited it watching the TV, and I think we have a clip right here we're going to play. Hopefully maybe you guys have it. This is beautiful.
Donald Trump just last week he confirmed to the National Review that he's again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. On behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Does the people think that Donald Trump is a clown?
Yeah, Donald Trump is a clown.
And does anybody seriously think that Donald Trump is serious about running for president?
Donald Trump, you know, he's a clown. The likely moderator apparently believes that Donald Trump is a clown.
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States. Real Donald Trump. Well, as real Donald Trump. At least I will go down as a president.
This is the beginning of the end for Trump. The beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end?
Probably starting of the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency.
The strongest person usually isn't the loudest one in the room.
So right now we have Hillary's about 75 or 80% favorite in different versions.
Well, Hillary up by double digits nationally, 12 points, 50 to 38 in a four-way race.
Clinton leading in Florida, Clinton leading in North Carolina, Clinton leading in Ohio, Clinton leading in Nevada. I could go on and on and on.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
And so, right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president, all right? It's been fun. It's been great. I love you. But come on, buddy.
We have major projection right now. Donald Trump will take Ohio. Kentucky with Indiana, with its electoral West Virginia, Maryland, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, North Dakota, with 3 electoral votes, and South Carolina, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, the state of Montana, North Carolina, Georgia, Iowa, Utah, Wisconsin, Arizona, Kansas, with 6 electoral votes, Nebraska with 5 electoral votes, and Wyoming with its 3 electoral votes.
Keep you waiting, complicated business. Now you're not laughing so much, I'll tell you.
I love reliving that moment. It's a great video. My sister is a 100-meter hurdler, and she said she used to watch that before her track meets to rough it up a little bit. It's a great video, but it became pretty clear to me as I was at CNN that there was a real chasm between the punditry and the people. The people who never left the Manhattan newsrooms, the people who never left the swamp. That's what they thought, but they didn't see it coming because they never went out and actually spoke to the people. And I was sitting there in that room on CNN tonight as Wolf Blitzer was forced to utter all of those wins for Donald Trump. I gotta tell you, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Before we went out to the set, I remember the Hillary Clinton pundits had said, "We just got the exit polls back. Hillary Clinton's about to be the next president." I was so dismayed. I texted my husband. I said, you know, that he's going to win, or excuse me, she's going to win. And he wrote back to me, "How are you saying that? The polls haven't even closed. Don't listen to what they're telling you." And I didn't listen to them. And as the night transpired, man, there's just a look of agony on the face of my friend Van Jones and Paul Begala and Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer and Gloria Borger, et cetera, et cetera. And as Jeffrey Lord and I were at our little computers, he was monitoring his home state of Pennsylvania, I was monitoring Florida, I would sit up a little taller and Jeff would sit up a little taller and the rest of the room just kind of slumped down. It was something to see. But they're really, you know, all the way through the elections, the press just got it wrong. And I just wanted to review some of the few flawed narratives they had, some of the many, I should say. First, it was Donald Trump's not going to run. Newsday said, Donald Trump says he's forming an exploratory committee for president, and mermaids have been spotted near the Atlantis. So he wasn't going to run. Then he was going to drop out, according to the media. Chris Cillizza of CNN wrote, he should never even be covered as a close to serious candidate. Then all of a sudden Donald Trump had a ceiling. We kept hearing about the ceiling of support he was going to hit. But that so-called ceiling, it was 10% in July, 20% in August, 30% in September, eventually getting to the point where Donald Trump earned 13.3 million votes in the Republican primary, more than any nominee in the history of our party, more than Reagan, more than Bush, more than those before him. Pretty remarkable feat. Yes, and then my favorite prediction was that of CNBC's Ben White. Ben White, he said this: Donald Trump is not going to be the next president. This reporter is already on record pledging to eat a bag of rusty nails if the real estate tycoon manages to snag the GOP nomination. It's unclear whether White ever made good on that promise. But in my book, one of the many people I interviewed was Jared Kushner, who's a great advisor of the president. And he said to me, you know, the press, they were just always talking to each other. So they never, essentially what I said, never took the time to get to know the people. But normally, perennial failure to do your job costs you your job. But in media, you're rewarded. If you're wrong, if you're anti-Trump, if you don't do your job well, you're rewarded, and in many cases promoted. It's something I've never understood. But look, this is why we conservatives, we've really got to stick together. We have to. Because the media is against us, and let me tell you, you guys probably know this all too well, being out on the West Coast and hearing a lot more about Silicon Valley than I often do on my coast, but they're trying to suppress us on social media, for sure, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. I don't know if some of you guys saw this week, you probably didn't unless you're following my Twitter feed or maybe saw me on Fox, but I was banned from Instagram. I don't know, yeah, banned from Instagram. You ask me why? Well, let me back up there. Did you guys hear the news today that Pocahontas declared she's running for president? Yes, well, long story short, Pocahontas decided not too long ago it was a good idea to take a DNA test, where she found out she was 1 in 1,024th Native American, less than the average European American. She went out still touting the fact that she was Native American, which is a false claim. Nevertheless, she did it, but she said, I never used it to get ahead in my job. Until the Washington Post found her Texas bar card, where she self-describes as, quote, Indian American. I decided to put up the image on my Instagram, literally reported by the liberal Washington Post, reported by CNN, reported by Fox. I put the picture on my Instagram. Woke up the next morning, says you've been temporarily suspended from Instagram because you bullied, harassed, and blackmailed Elizabeth Warren. No kidding, no kidding. Incredible. Thankfully, because of my position, I was able to tell Fox News and Daily Caller and all of these other conservative publications, who ended up getting to Instagram, and after about 24 hours, they announced that they had erroneously removed my post, erroneously suspended me, and would reinstate it all. And what made me so sad about this story is I've had the ability to contact Fox and the Daily Caller, but there are millions of conservatives around this country that are banned every day, that are censored every day, and they don't have that ability. It's why we've got to stick together. It's why we've got to support one another. It's why we've got to get the message out there however we can. But let me tell you, one of the questions I'm most often asked is, what is the greatest Donald Trump accomplishment? There are lots. There are a ton. Neil Gorsuch, Justice Kavanaugh. You look at the economy roaring, that we've retaked our place on the world stage as being the lead country of this universe. I mean, that wasn't the same under the apology tour of Obama, but there's so much good. I mean, I can't ever name one. But I gotta tell you, this is one of my favorite Trump actions, and it happened just 2 weeks ago. It went something like this. Dear Madam Speaker, due to the shutdown, I'm sorry to inform you your trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan has been postponed. We will reschedule this 7-day excursion when the shutdown is over. I am sure you would agree that postponing this public relations event is totally appropriate. Sincerely, President Donald Trump. Great. I'm not entirely sure that Nancy Pelosi agreed with him, but the images were priceless. The red cart with her luggage pushed back in front of her office. You had the Air Force bus circling the block with the Democrats on it. You had Adam Schiff, who apparently someone told me he was refusing to get off the bus, or was certainly looking pretty sad as he deboarded, but it was incredible. But in all sincerity, the president was doing the right thing. When Nancy Pelosi decided to vacation in Hawaii, the next week the Democrats went off to a beach vacation in Puerto Rico, then they were going to go on this world tour, and President Trump said, no, we got to get to the business of the American people. And while he has not compromised on principle in these negotiations, what he has done, and I think it's important, and the American people and independents around the country are taking notice, is he has been the reasonable one in this border negotiation. He said, I'm not caving on the wall. The wall's happening. We need a border barrier. However, I'll work with you. I'll change it. You're uncomfortable with concrete for some reason. I'll change it to steel. He said that he would do a temporary relief, not amnesty, but temporary relief for DACA recipients. He has been seen as the reasonable one, and I'll tell you, public polling showed that 56% saw President Trump as making good faith overtures to Nancy Pelosi, who is being exposed as the radical, open borders, abolish ICE person that we all know that she is. And she's being exposed. And so that's why, one of the things I say about the president is he's the great deal maker. And a lot of things he does are strategic. And I think the DACA temporary relief, which was only for 3 years, was an effort to show the nation, hey, even if I give her what she wants, she still wants open borders. She's still not going to come to the table. And that's what I think we're seeing each and every day as we approach this February 15th deadline, where the president will either declare national emergency or we shut down the government. But one thing I know, we are getting that border barrier because of this president, and he will not be taking it out.